Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to each and every one of you. Thanks for coming back for another video. This is Green River number 9, take about 6, I believe. And so just ignore that some of this field has actually been seeded. We're just going to seed over the top of it. I will tell you kind of what's been going on the last 48, almost 72 hours with my gaming rig and everything. And that's kind of why I've had to come back and do a couple of takes at this. Anyway, I did want to just very briefly show off the new feature in the development version of Courseplay. This is, of course, 5.02.00085, and our good friend Duck Zorley did a quick video on these features, and so I will put a link down below if I can remember where you can go and grab that video that discusses these features. But basically, not a whole lot new as far as this is concerned. This screen, when we get everything set up the way that we want it, so we're going to do 15-meter working width, which is what this seeder is. We're going to start from the current vehicle position. We're going to do 2 headlands. We're going to click this guy here, and this is going to bring up a new sort of a new GUI. As part of the new features of Courseplay, and we can make some changes here if we want to, but this stuff will sort of default in based on what we had already defined on the other screen, and it all pretty much looks good to us. If we wanted to make some changes, we could. And then if we kind of just want to see what it looks like on the field, of course we've had this ability to do this for quite some time, but kind of not in this feature, and that is what we will do. So we're going to go ahead and click OK, and that will get our course generated. I like to kind of back my tractor up just a little bit, and that way he has a little bit better running start at it. And we're going to do first waypoint, and we are also going to fertilize at the time of sowing, and we're going to go ahead and drive course, and this guy will pull up there and unfold his seeder, and off he will go. So we will just wait just momentarily and let him get off to his starting position and everything. We are still opening fields and everything up here within the map, and it should basically, because all of this has already been fertilized and seeded, I don't think it's going to waste any fertilizer or seed by kind of redoing it this way. But anyway, so we've got this guy seeding this field here, 16, and then we've got another hired worker over there in field number 17, and he or she is cultivating that field down to create a nice soft bed for what will become another canola field. All right, we're going to jump out of here and run over here so we don't get run over by the seeder, and I'm going to just sort of tab over to this guy, come back to the main farm area, and hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Today in the real world is Sunday, the 22nd of April. And boy, what a frustration of time it has been the last 72 hours or so now. I had already come over here once and sort of started talking about this pellet haul facility, and I opened the doors and everything up, but then realized I had a major malfunction with something, and I needed to correct that because I was not going to be able to do what I needed to do, and that of course was to load pellets into the thing over here. So if you are new to the pellet haul, then I'm going to very briefly explain how this works. If you're old hat to this, just hang in there, and I'll be right back to the action here momentarily. So if you remember in the previous game day, the previous episode, we baled pellets and produced those pellets, loaded them up into the Penta DB50, backed them in here, and poured them into this holding area here. These are hay pellets. We're going to take those hay pellets. We're not going to use the crane. The crane has different features. We can change from this bell grab over to a scoop, but the crane is really sort of well, it's just, I don't like it, so we're not going to use it. We're going to just pretend like it's broken or it doesn't work or whatever, because yeah, life is just too short. So we bring the pellets over, we dump the pellets into this hopper mechanism. The hopper mechanism has gravity flow, feeds down onto this conveyor belt. The pellets go up and pour into this palletizer right here. Now the palletizer will essentially, if I back up and move over just a little bit, the palletizer palletizes and pours the pellets into these 20-kilogram bags here that then plop onto this conveyor belt, which is conveniently already running, and goes into this area, this caged area here. Now from this caged area over here, we are stacking and basically palletizing the pellet packages, lots of P words there, onto those pallets, and they will sort of run down to this conveyor belt. They will sort of magically go across this area here. I suppose maybe this section of the conveyor rolls, and they will come out over here, and they will be they'll have shrink wrap on them, and then we can pick them up from this location and place them into storage or whatever. So that is how that works. If this might be slightly overkill from the sense that the big John Deere wheel loader with the 6,000 liter bucket on it, this is the John Deere is a mod, but the bucket itself is the in-game 6,000 liter bucket, and so yeah, nothing, not doing like the big 100,000 liter modded bucket and all that kind of stuff. We are kind of keeping it as realistic as possible. Yes, we could most likely use the little JCB skid steer with the small skid steer bucket on it, but that only holds, well, I can pretty much put about as much of the pellets in my pocket, I think, as that little thing holds. And so, when you can do it like Tim the Toolman Taylor, if you guys remember that show, if you can do it with a little bit larger, faster method, then hey, why not, right? All right, so we're going to put, I really don't know, I can't remember how much this little mechanism over here holds. And again, my apologies, because I'm having to try to keep the camera pointed down a little lower because of the roof line and everything like that, trying to keep everything into the shot. But anyway, you understand and you see what I'm trying to do here. So we're just going to basically dump this into this mechanism here. Now I'm sort of guessing that we're going to get through these 800 liters or so here pretty quick, and so I'm going to speed up time just another degree there until we can get rid of these, and then I'm going to do something else a little bit unrealistic, I suppose, and that is I'm going to grab another scoop of material, and I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and do that now, because that way we can get on with the other things that we need to do today. So I need to lift that up and move that out of the way. So we're already bagging, as you can kind of see there, and as soon as I get this other bucket loaded up, I'll get out of the tractor, and that way you can kind of see what's going on here as we drive. And we'll come up and scoop some more into this bucket, get 6,000 liters in here. I have noticed that the hay pellets do register a full scoop on this. Some things of recent, I don't know when this sort of broke within Giants. I don't know if it's always been the case with Farm Sim 17, or if it's been something that has that got broken after an update or something. But the game kind of has an issue with filling things up to the full 100%. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our parking brake. We're going to tip this like this, and it will sort of magically feed the hopper as it empties out. All right, so we've got our bags. The pellets are going up, coming down, getting palletized into this, and then the bags are getting stacked onto the pallet right over here. We're not going to go inside because it shuts the machine down. And then in a minute, this full pallet of material, and we'll stay here and wait for this to happen. That way you can see it. And then again, if this is old hat to you, then my apologies for taking some 5 minutes or so of your time to kind of see this happen over again, because again, I know that if you're familiar with it, you're you don't really need to see this again. But in any event, that's what they do, and I think it's about to be finished here, I think. Not sure. Pretty cool animation, I've got to say. I mean, you know, a lot of folks will discuss out there if whether or not this is worth the cost, if the whole straw harvest mod or DLC is worth the cost that um, Aerosoft charges for it. You know, value can only be determined by you, the individual gamer. I cannot, you know, I'm not going to try to convince you that this is worth your hard-earned money, because that is your hard-earned money. It's not my money. It's not my thing to sort of. So here we go. So yeah, that does move over, and then it magically appears with shrink wrap. Now, I would have to say that I would think that all of this animation that they've put into this, I would think that why didn't they put a pallet wrapping mechanism in here that spins the pallet as the shrink wrap is getting placed down on it? Because basically, how does one determine how the shrink wrap gets put on this? Now, one other thing, if you're new to the straw harvest DLC and you don't have it, you see this QR code right here. If you will scan this with your smartphone, as we kind of get up on it here, and I guess you could scan it if I stay still enough. You could probably scan it from the video screen. I think that will work as well. But if you scan that QR code with your smartphone, you'll get a link to where you can download another free piece of kit that's part of the straw harvest mod. It's basically a straw heat facility, I believe, and you can check that out. So let's go ahead and take that one pallet down, just so that way we can you guys can see how terrible I drive this JCB skid steer. And boy, let me tell you, this thing is fun to drive, but it is a little awkward as well. So we're going to go ahead and take this pallet off the line here. Now, I will tell you a word of caution. If you think that you're going to perhaps come in here with an auto-loading trailer with the UAL Universal Auto Load feature on it, and oops, I can see that we're going to run into a little bit of a problem with our doors there. But if you think you're going to bring a auto-loading trailer in, surely this little skid steer will lift this guy up. All right. Anyway, I've got an issue with the click mechanism, I can see. So anyway, I'm pretty poor at this, and I think either I need to do a better job of getting on the pallet there or something. But anyway, if you think you can bring a universal auto load trailer in here and scoop these up, it's going to break it until you restart the game. And we're going to go ahead and just let that fall right there, because again, I didn't have a good connection onto the pallet, and then the door shut, and that kind of got me all messed up. So we're going to just slide this over like that, get it out of the way there. So you could obviously bring an auto loading trailer in and grab these once you take them off the conveyor, but you cannot back an auto loading trailer up and grab them from the conveyor back here, because if you do that, then that's going to cause you some problems. And I guess this little JCB is just too small for these pallets. I'm going to have to look into another skid steer. So I would say if anyone has any recommendations, let me know, but I am so far ahead of recording videos that quite honestly, if I were to wait for you to watch this video, I would be waiting for about 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks. And so I will do some research and try to find something a little bit healthier to put back here. So anyway, there's 2 pallets that's come off the line, And we've got those plays kind of out of the way, and we'll see what else goes on here. Anyway, so these will be good sellers, good earners for us. All right, so if you remember from the previous episode, yes, we mowed this hay meadow here, and we need to go ahead and fertilize after it because we want to try to capitalize on getting the most from this hay meadow, from this grass field, because there are other things that we want to do with this hay, or with the grass and everything back here. We want to make some silage out of the grass. We want to make more hay for our own farm use, because we managed to get maybe 20 bales off of it, I think, that we did not pelletize, and so that's kind of how that is working out. But anyway, hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I'm pretty sure I've already said that, but I needed a good segue into telling you all what's been going on here in the Grizzly Bear Sim studios. And that's just a fancy way of me saying my basement home office where my gaming machine is. Nothing too fancy about that. But anyway, you know, on the videos, occasionally I would complain about getting a Windows 10 update pop-up that had been going on for probably 3 months or so. It took an update sometime in either December or January. I think it was probably January. It took a Windows 10 update, or took some updates, and everything seemed to be fine. And I'm usually a little nervous about updates, Windows 10 updates, just simply because you never know what these updates are going to break. Oftentimes it will break functionality within the games, and you know, that's no good, that's no fun for us, because then we can't play the games until either Microsoft fixes it through another update, or whether the game developer fixes and patches it to be able to work with whatever update came out that messed things up in the first place. And oftentimes it is sort of down to the game developers to do this, because Microsoft will basically sit on their hands and say, well, you know, we needed to apply this particular update in the fashion that we did because of vulnerabilities or whatever. They're always using the security vulnerability reason for why they do things, and that's obviously that's a good reason to do stuff. And I kind of have some experience with information security and such in my job, and it is important to keep all the holes and all the back doors closed and the holes and everything sealed shut so that we don't have issues. But anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. But I had been having these issues with these Windows 10 updates, and because I was, you know, 2.5 weeks ahead of my schedule, my recording schedule, I've got that much content already recorded. It may not be edited and uploaded and queued up to go on YouTube, but it has at least been recorded. And so I had moved those files. I at least was smart enough. I moved those files off and have been keeping those backed up onto another drive, just because that would just basically break my heart if for whatever reason those video files were to sort of get lost. And so I'm pretty good at doing backups as well. You know, I've been in this industry. I've seen, I've had to grab a box of Kleenex on more than one occasion after I've told people when they've dropped off their laptop or whatever to me back in the day when I used to do more PC level support type break fix stuff. I would have a box of Kleenex in my office because I've more than once had to grab that box of Kleenex and hand it to an individual when I've told them that all of their data, all their precious data, things that they have worked on for possibly hours, days, weeks, months, maybe even personal things like photographs, if people keep those things on their work-related assets, and they do in my industry or in my company. And so I've had to break the news to those people and say, sorry, but you know, everything is gone. It's all gone. If you didn't have this backed up someplace else, you're not going to see it again because your drive is crashed, and either that or, you know, resources are what they are, that, you know, we're not going to spend a great deal of time trying to recover data and also shipping a drive off to one of these forensic recovery kind of places is too costly. My company's not going to pay for that unless you're one of the executive level individuals. And well, anyway, so as you know, I've had these Windows 10 pop-up things, and I had mostly been just sort of ignoring them and thinking to myself, well, at some stage or another, I may just go ahead and just decide to rebuild my machine. And I had sort of an idea to do that probably in the late summer or maybe very early fall time frame. I kind of thought that, well, if I can maintain my queue and everything as I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and once we get back from vacation and I sort of reestablish the queue of videos and everything, because obviously I'll be away for about 2.5 weeks and I won't be recording any content during that time. I would get myself ahead again, and then I would basically go ahead and reformat the drive, back everything up, of course, reformat the drive, and reinstall Windows 10, and essentially reinstall all my games and reinstall basically everything else. And so that was kind of the idea, that was the plan. I figured it was good to maybe do that before FarmSim 19 comes out, just so that it's on a clean install of Windows 10, and everything would be current. Just kind of go through the process of making sure my graphics card was up to date, all of the components on the motherboard, sound, GPU, CPU, everything updated, new BIOS flashed, the whole 9 yards basically. Well, so on Friday afternoon, when I came home from work, I fired up my computer, and again, you've possibly caught this on screen once or twice, or maybe I've edited it out, but I know I've kind of talked about being frustrated about this. But occasionally I would get this pop-up that would basically say, updates have failed, and essentially, restart your computer, restart the update process, or whatever. And so most of the time, that's all that would ever do. It would not cause any problems at all with the machine, and it would just sort of repeat itself the next time that I booted the machine up. But as long as I sort of waited about 2 or 3 minutes, it would get the pop-up and everything over with, and I wouldn't be plagued with that throughout my recording session or my gameplay session or whatever. Well, for whatever reason, on Friday afternoon, when I shut the machine down, it attempted to try to apply the update. Now, because of the way that the machine had been behaving for the past couple of weeks, I really didn't think that it was going to automatically try to mess me about with this. And so essentially, I had not made a backup of any of my files, any of my game saves, or things like that for about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. And so when this started doing its thing, I was a little bit caught off guard. And I had seen this happen before a couple of weeks ago, but what would happen is it would basically say, unable to apply the update, restoring Windows 10 to its previous condition or whatever, something like that. And so, but it would not do it this time. It was basically stuck between the machine trying to boot and the odd thing was then the machine trying to do this restore, and it would just do this process over and over and over. And I just noticed something really weird. I noticed some anomalies around the gravel there. It looks like sand is appearing through. I hadn't noticed that before, so hopefully it's not a big deal. I did update my graphics drivers to the latest and greatest as far as NVIDIA is concerned. But anyway, so we'll just keep moving forward here. So let me think, where are we? We're at 24 minutes, so I'm going to squeeze into the cab just so I don't run into a tree. And we're going to go and fill up that little fuel tanker thing here. So I cannot remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry if I end up repeating myself here. I do apologize because I can't remember at which cut I talked about this, but you might remember from my previous episode we talked about buying a fuel bowser, the little fuel trailer, And I've got this guy here on the map. I do enjoy using it, and I think that this might work to our advantage. It has, let's pull it up in the shop here again. And again, my apologies if I've repeated this, because I can't remember if this was in the last take that I attempted before I threw my hands up and I said I've got to fix the ability to lift my yeah, 1875 liters. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy, and we're going to take it over to the fuel plant, and we're going to actually, I think we might can pull it in our Toyota pickup truck here. We'll try to do that. So yeah, so anyway, as a result of basically the problems that this update caused me, I ended up, I couldn't get the machine out of this loop, this almost this infinite loop of trying to restore back to a previous session, and then let me figure out which gear that I'm in here, and then trying to boot up. So what I ended up having to do is I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I've got 2.5 weeks worth of content already recorded. It's in a safe place. So even if I need to basically, spend the next week getting the machine and everything rebuilt, getting everything reapplied, I had a backup from 2.5 weeks ago, and I figured, okay, worst case scenario, I would just have to work really, really hard to get this map as well as Tazewell County up to, because Tazewell County is not finished yet. I haven't recorded the final episodes of Tazewell. I have Midtown, but I have not recorded at this particular point in time the final episodes of Tazewell. So I would have to do a little bit of work to bring that up. I would do that off camera, and you guys would not be any the wiser on that, other than me telling you that I had to do that. But anyway, I was able to, from from another Windows 10 machine, I was able to download from Microsoft essentially a Windows 10 package. Okay, and so because what I had done with my machines at home was I had essentially taken advantage of the free Windows 10 update that Microsoft issued a couple of years ago, and so I had this, and and so I'm thinking, okay, well, am I going to need to go buy Windows 10 or whatever? What am I going to have to do to basically get this thing going again? And so anyway, so I got this put on a thumb drive, and the options, when I fired it up, thinking, okay, worst case scenario, I'm going to have to just format everything and start over, and none of my stuff is going to be there. So what it does is the Windows 10 process, the reimage process or rebuild process, essentially will take all of your files. Okay, we're going to shut our engine off here, and we're going to fill this guy up. There we go. Okay, I just had to pull up far enough. But anyway, so what it does is when you rebuild Windows 10, if it detects a previous version, if it detects a Windows 10 installation, what it does is it basically moves everything from your Windows directory and creates a Windows.old. So you have access to things such as your desktop. So if you keep folders and shortcuts and things like that on your desktop, those things would be there. If you have like your documents, things in my documents, so obviously my game saves from Farm Sim 17 were in that folder, and then other, obviously other directories within that structure. So I basically was able to get a fresh copy of Windows 10 installed. I've got my backup stuff that got moved into that Windows old folder. And the other cool thing about it is that after I got everything installed, because I have my Steam games installed onto another drive, so I've got 4 drives in this computer. I've got a drive that basically handles my video capture, so I'm dumping my video file, recording to that drive, and that's the only thing that's going on to that drive. And then I've got a drive for prepared for my flight sim stuff. That's a dedicated drive that doesn't do anything other than that. And then I've got another drive for all the other Steam games. And because those drives were still intact, I was basically able to just essentially reinstall the Steam client, and that redetected all the install files from the Steam drive, and then everything was good to go. So that in and of itself is kind of how all that worked out. And so here we are. So we have 1,875 liters of fuel into this guy here. Now, of course, the only sort of the only bad thing, I suppose, about this particular fuel trailer is the fact that we do have to essentially start it up, I think, before we can get fuel out of it, but we can certainly do that. That's not a problem. So let's go ahead and get out here, and I need to bring the F1 menu up so I can see what I'm doing. And let's see, activate service function, and then we've got to fire her up. That's the service function, and then we've got to come up here. Gosh, I did a mod review on this not too long ago, and start the fuel pump is M, just like that. There we go. And then we're going to come around over here, and we're going to get into our Deutz-Fahr tractor because we need to fill this guy up. He's at 59. He's at 59 liters. So we're going to pull him around, and hopefully we can pull him around over here on this side and get the fuel icon, and we'll shut him off and start filling up. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode. I do appreciate your time. I know that many of you have a lot of other different YouTube content creators out there that you enjoy watching, and so do I. And so I know that your time is precious and everything, but I appreciate you spending time here with me. You're always welcome on my virtual farms, by the way, so please come back again very, very soon for either another video here on GreenRiver or on Tazewell County as we begin to wrap that series up in the coming days and everything. So thank you again very, very much for your friendship and being here and everything, and being part of the Grizzly Bear Sims family. Again, folks, without further ado, thank you again for watching. God bless you all. Take care of yourself and also of each other, and come back again very soon. Bye-bye for now.